Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome to Tanie Codes. In this tutorial we're going to talk about operators. We're gonna hop right into that. So I'm going to be talking to you guys about operators, our arithmetic operators, urinary operators, relational operators, and we also have logical operators. So today I'm just gonna touch the basics, the most operators that you're going to be using. There are a lot of operators, and if you wanna check that, you can Google that and search C++ operators and you can find a lot of operators, but today we're just gonna touch the basics one and the one that we normally use. So before we start, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, comment in the comment section, and also share this video to anyone you think might be interested in learning C++, and let's get right into it. So we're gonna start with arithmetic operators. So I'm pretty sure you guys are much familiar with these operators. So we have addition, subtraction, we also have multiplication, division, which is our backslash, and then we also have what we call modular. So to use this, we pretty much just write them just as they are, and the computer is going to do all the calculation. So we can say 5 plus maybe 3. So the computer is going to do this calculation. So as you can see, the answer is 8, which is the correct answer. So basically these operations we can just type in our IDE and the computer is going to do all the calculations. So inside there I can put the multiplication sign, I can put the division sign, and I can also put in the subtraction sign. And then we have our 2, which is 5 minus 3. So the one I want to talk mostly about is this. It's called a modular sign, and it's represented by a percentage sign. So what a modular does, it gives you a reminder of your operand. When we say, for example, 5 divided by 3, so as you can see guys, we're receiving a whole number as our answer, whereas the answer is actually a 1.56 or something like that, but the answer is a decimal. So reason being is because we used integers, we used whole numbers as our operands. That's why we're receiving an answer of a whole number or integer, because our operands here are whole numbers. So if you want the exact number, all you need to do is make one of these a decimal point. So now you're gonna get the actual answer. So now we're getting the actual answer in decimal point, which is the actual answer, because we used a decimal as our operands. So to get the remainder for this, we can use our modular operator. So what our modular operator does, it gives us the remainder of your two operands divided. So if you're going to say cout 5 modular 3, we're receiving the answer of 2 because 5 can only be divided one time and we're having a remainder of 2. So when you want to know the remainder of two operands, you can just use your modular sign and then you can get that reminder. So I've said this before, this operator is really effective and I love using it. So the next operators I'm going to talk about is urinary operators, which is my decrement and increment. So these are my urinary operators, increment and decrement. So what these do, they actually increase your variable or your number by 1, and then your decrement decreases the number of variable by 1. So for example, let's create a variable that we're going to call counter value, and let's assign this to maybe a 6. So basically what the increment does, it adds 1 to our counter value. After we've declared our variable, then we type in counter value. So now we want to increment our counter value, so we're gonna say counter value, and we're gonna add in our increment sign. So this is supposed to add 1 to our counter value, so it's going to add 1 and we're gonna receive a counter value for C. We're gonna receive a counter value of 7. So let's see if it works. I'm going to say cout and we're gonna call our counter value, and let's see what it actually gives us. So as you can see guys, we're receiving a counter value of 7, whereas our counter value had originally assigned to a 6. So we incremented our value by 1, and then now our counter value is equal to 7. So decrement is actually the opposite of increment, so it's going to minus a 1. So let's say, and then let's run this. Now we're receiving an answer of 5, so our counter value now is equal to 5. Originally our counter value was 6, and then we decremented it. Now we have a counter value of 5. So another example I can give you right now is, for example, if you want to create a pin validation app. So we can give our user 3 chances to enter their pin, and then if they finish their 3 chances, maybe their account gets blocked or something. So we can use our decrement to minus 1 every time the user attempts to input a pin. It minuses 1, and when the user inputs a pin for the second time, it minuses 1, and when the user inputs a pin for the third time, it minus 1, and then now the user doesn't have any more chances. So we can code a program so that if the counter value equals to 0, then the account for that user gets blocked. So that's how we can use our decrement or our increment value. So I want to show you guys something. We also have something that's called post increment. So basically what post increment, let me show you guys an example of a post increment. So we can say, okay, we can first declare our variable. So we'll first declare our variable, our counter variable, counter. We can just call it counter 2, and we're gonna assign it a value of maybe 7, and then we're gonna say cout counter, and we're gonna increment it. So we're gonna increment our value. So now our results say 7, even though our initial value was 7 and we did increment the value. But then this is called a post increment because the increment is after the execution of this counter value. So we call the counter value and then we incremented it. So if we're gonna type in cout, so now when you call the counter value again, so let me put in an end line so that you can actually see the difference. End line. So when we call our counter value again, then we're gonna receive an incremented value because now we call the counter value, it executed 7, then we incremented it, we added 1. So this value now should give us an 8. So let's run our project and see. So now you can see the difference. In our first year command, we called the counter variable and then we incremented it, so we post incremented it. That's why our answer is still 7. Now we call the function, now we call the variable again. Now it's incremented already. Because of this, we're receiving an 8. So make sure you are aware of that we also have post increment. So make sure that you put in your increment first if you really want your value or your variable to be incremented, and also this applies on decrement. So that's pretty much about our urinary operators. Now we're going to jump on into relational operators. So our relational operators are, we have greater than, and we have greater than or equals to, and then we have less than, and also less than or equal to, or equal to, less than or equal to, and we have equal to, and we also have not equal to. So we also have not equal to. So these are our rational operators. So to explain these rational operators, we're going to declare 2 variables, so 2 integer variables. So we're going to say num1 and num2, and then we're gonna assign, okay, so I actually want to assign this value, so I'm just gonna say num1 is equals to maybe a 5, and then num2 is equal to a 3. So now this is how we can use our rational operators. So firstly we have greater than, this greater than rational operator. So we can use this by saying, let me just comment these out. Now since I've declared our variables, we can use our greater than operator by saying, now I'm gonna say to my computer, please check if my num1 is greater than my num2, and then let's run and see. So as you can see guys, we've received a 1. So if you know about computers, you probably know that computers work with zeros and 1, our binary values. So 0 means false and 1 means true. So now we're having a 1, which means num1 is greater than num2, which is 5 is greater than 3. So we're receiving a true, which is our 1. Now we can say, check if my num1 is smaller than my num2. So now we're receiving a 0, which means false, which means 1 is not smaller than 5. So which means our num1 is not smaller than our num2, which means 5 is not less than 3. And then we also have greater than or equal to. We also have greater than or equal to. So now we're checking if our num1 is greater than or equal to our num2. So if our num5 is greater or equal to our num3, 2 is our num5 greater or equal to our num3. Yeah, so we're receiving a true. We're saying is our num1 greater or equal to our num2. So even though it's not equal, but it is greater. So here it's literally greater or equal to. So one of these should be true. If one of these are true, then our result is going to be true. So num1, it is greater than num2, but it's not equal to num2. But then there's this one argument that still stands out, that is still true, which is it is greater than num2. So our 5 is greater than num3. So here we can also say, like for example, if our num1 was equal to our num3, then both of these would be true. So so if we had num3 here, so this one would be true, this one would be false, but this one would be true because num1 it is equal to num2. So let's put back our 5, and then we also have less than or equal to. So we also have less than or equal to. My god. So now we're receiving a 0, which means false, which means both of these are false, both of these are not true. So firstly, num1 is not less than num2. So num5 is not less than num3. And our second argument, again, it's saying is num1 equal to num2, as not equal to is not equal, because we have 5 and a 3, they are both not equal. So here we're receiving a not a false execution, because none of these operations, none of these arguments are true. It is not less than and is not equal to, but previously it was greater than, but it was not equal to. But we received an execution of true because at least one of the argument was true. But at this moment none of the arguments are true, they are both false, hence we're getting this 0 meaning false. So now we have our equal to operator. So we have our equal to operator. So what our equal to operator does, it checks if this number and this number are equal. So if they're equal, it returns a true value. If they are false, it returns a false. If they're not equal, it returns a false value. So let's run our project and see. So now we're going to receive a false value because num1 and num2 are not equal. 5 and 3 are not equal, hence you're gonna receive a false value, 0. So we're receiving 0 on our console because this is false, it's not true. because number 1 is assigned to 5 and number 2 is assigned 3, and 5 is not equal to 3. So we do not use 1 equal to, because this equal to is used to assign. So we'll be using it here. It is used to assign, so you cannot use it again to compare. So rather we use two double, so we use two equal signs to see if whatever is equal to whatever. And then now we have our not operator. We have our not operator. So what our not operator does, it checks if number 1 is not equal to number 2. So in this instance it's going to be true because number 5 is not equal to number 3. So let's run our project and see. I don't know why I keep on doing this instead of just exiting. So let's run our project and see. Now we're receiving a 1 on our console because it is true 5 is not equal to 3. So this number 5 that we assigned on our number 1 variable is not equal to 3, which is assigned in our number 2 variable. So this is how we use our argument operators. So the next operators I want to talk about, we have our logical operators. We have 3 logical operators, which are AND logical operator, or logical operators, and not logical operator. These are our 3 logical operators. So how this works, let me just show you guys how these actually work. So let me do this. So let's declare variables. Let's say we have int, we have num1 assigned to maybe a 5, num2 assigned to a 3. So you can see how I assigned values here. I first declared our variables and then I assigned them, and here I'm just assigning and declaring them in the same line. Let me quickly show you guys how our AND operator works. So this is our AND operator, this one over here. So we can use our AND operator by saying cout open and close parentheses num1 you can say is my number 1 equal to 5, and so this is our AND operator. Number 2 equal to maybe 7, and then we put in our semicolon. So this is going to give us a false and execution. We're going to receive a false as an answer because here we should check of both arguments. So both arguments should be true for us to receive a true value. So number 1 should be equal to 5 and number 2 should be equal to 7 for us to receive a true value. So even though our number 5 is equal to number 5, but our number 2 is not equal to 7, it's actually equal to number 3. So to receive a true value, both of these arguments should be true. So let's run our project and see. Now we're receiving a false value inside our console because one of these arguments, so one of these parameters is false, which is this one, because our number 2 is not equal to 7, instead is equal to 3. So that's how we use our AND operator. And we also have our OR operator, so we use vertical bars for that. We have our OR operator. So what our OR operator does is it checks if this operator, so it checks if this argument and also checks this argument. So if either one of these arguments is true, it's going to return a true value. So even though this argument is false, our number 1 is not equal to 7 but is equal to 3, it's going to give us a true value because one of these should be true at least. That's why it's called an OR value. So we're checking if this is true or if this is true. So if this is false, then we're gonna check the other one to see if it is true or false, and if it is true, then we're receiving a true value overall. But if they are both false, then we're receiving a false value. but if one is true, we're receiving a true value. If both are true, we're receiving a true value. So let me run and see. Now we're receiving a true value because at least one of these arguments is true. Even though they are both not true, at least one argument is true. This is how we use our OR operator. Then we have this NOT operator. So what this NOT operator basically does, it negates whatever comes after this. So if I put my NOT operator here, previously this was true, we had our 1 as our result, but now we're going to receive a false because what this does is vice versa. So when we run a project, now we're going to receive a false value. We're going to receive a 0 because we negated the answer. It negated whatever came after this, so it's going to be an opposite. So if it was true, when you put in this value, when we put in this NOT operator, it's going to be false, and if it was false and we put in this operator, it's going to be true. So now you see we're receiving a 0 answer because now we made this to be false. We negated whatever came after this operator, whatever is in our parentheses. So that's how our NOT operator works. It negates the answer. So if it was true, it becomes false. If it was false, it becomes true. So that's pretty much our operators. So another thing I want to talk about is priority of this operator. So what the computer takes first priority between all our operators. So these arithmetic operators take first priority. Comes these urinary operators, and followed by our argument operators. Then our logical operators come last. So they do not take first priority, they are the last priority. So if we're having an expression, we're having a line of code with all of these operators, first the computer is going to do our arithmetic operator, then it's going to do our urinary operator, then it's going to do our argument operator, then lastly it's going to do our logical operator. Even though maybe our logical operator comes first in the line, but it's going to be executed or it's going to be utilized later after all the operators are done being utilized. That's the importance of each and every operator. Is first we have our arithmetic, our urinary, our argument, and our logical operator being last. So the last operators on our cover is operators of assignment. So these are my last operators I want to cover. So let me quickly comment on these. So our assignment operators go like this. We have an equal assignment operator, so this assigns only, and then we also have our assign and add. Then we have our subtracting and assign value. We have our multiplication and assign value, and we also have our division and assign value, and also our modular and assign value. So these are our 6 assigning operators. We have an operator that just assigns, we have an operator that assigns and adds, we have an operator that subtracts and assigns, we also have an operator that multiplies and assign, and we also have an operator that divides and assign, and also an operator that modularize and assign. Let me show you guys how they work. So we have int, then we have a assigned to maybe a 5. So this is an example of this assigning value. We've assigned our a to a 5. And let me write something else. So let's say a, so we have this expression, and let me write another expression. So we're going to say a. Basically these expressions are the same, even though they do not look the same, but they do the same thing. So here we're saying a is equals to a plus 3. So now we're saying 5 is equals to 5 plus 3. Now our answer here is going to be 6 and 8. Now our answer here is going to be an 8, just like this one. So this one is a short way to say this. So this and this are the same. This is the shorter version of it. Well, basically what I'm saying is whatever that is this side, please assign it to this side. So here we're going to have 5 plus 3, we're going to assign it to this a now. So this literally the same thing with this expression on the top. Like I said, this expression here is the short way to write this expression here. So even this expression, it's adding 5 and 3 and then assigning it to this value. So a plus 3, assign it to this a. So that is all guys on operators. In my next video, we're starting with something different. My next video, we're talking about while loops. In my next 5 to 6 videos, we'll be talking about loops. I'm going to give you guys tutorial on how to use loops, different types of loop, our while loop, do while loop, for loop, and then we're gonna talk about arrays as well. So click that notification bell so that you can be notified when I publish those loop videos. And if you've seen value in this video, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, comment on the comment section, and also share this video to anyone who might be interested in learning C++. And thank you for watching.